Hey guys, I think I'm actually on. It wasn't actually technically a technical glitch. I was having a glitch with where my camera was sitting, what I have it holding. It would not hold it, and every time I started to go live, it fell over. So I find this is a weird angle. My office is still not fully set up. So I think this will have to do. Hopefully it's not too bad of an angle or lighting, but if this camera falls in the middle of me talking, I'm sorry. It's the weirdest, it was almost like a carnival glitch. Every time I went to hit live, my whole camera just went poof and fell to the ground. Cause my stand is loose. Anyway, I'm gonna light some Palo Santo to regain my composure. And I actually stayed pretty calm. I didn't even swear, which is a big step for me. Okay, hey guys, I'm seeing you on now. I'm lighting this, and actually, I think what I want to do is read this card, because right before I posted that post that I was going to be live, I was like, I want to pull a card that represents the energy of this live and the energy that I've been downloading for it. And that's the card that came through. So first, hi everyone. Hey Erin. Hey Bianca. See if I can see everyone on here. Hey Samantha. I think I said everybody. Carnival glitch, yes. So today, so you guys know that I've been, for actually a couple years now, putting together the spell of astronomical abundance. And I've just done different iterations of it. The concept of it is to create anomaly in the matrix. And I feel like every iteration I've done of it, I've had a deeper understanding into the inner workings of it and the actual tech of it. And I keep seeing how specifically grid workers and people I would put under the grid worker category are artists, writers, influencers. Am I still there? Okay, sorry guys, my phone started ringing. It usually doesn't come up like that, but so anyone who does healing work, creative people in general, but specifically I'm going to put empath around all of that. People who feel deeply and who have deep insight. And I'm going to put empath under the categories of extrasensory abilities, because I believe that all of these people that I just mentioned that specifically have a deep connection to their humanity or to humanity as a whole, who can't escape the reality of what it feels like to be in the human body. I believe we are strategically placed across the globe, that we have intentionally come in to, in the body, receive the code of lack and upgrade it or transmute it or restore it, or there's all these different words. There's a reason why I'm using technical words though. And today, as I was meditating this morning, and I've been preparing for the first week of the next spell of astronomical abundance. This one is a group mentoring. You guys have heard me mention it before. So I was preparing for week 1, and it's all about activating our currency and how we actually have unlimited currency. One of the things that has blown my mind since I've started doing this work, and it's like I understand it completely intellectually, but the actual experience of what it means is what I've been integrating, I feel like, for the last 5 years, really. And it's what has blown my mind is that we are this. I want to just paint a picture, because I really believe that myth is important when it comes to reprogramming the matrix. Humans are storytellers. Stories are really the fuel. Stories are really the currency. Stories, ideas, imagination, all of that being under the meaning we're giving our life. Those are the things we pass on. The stories are the things that get deeply embedded. It's why wars can go on for centuries and centuries, because they're remembered, because they're told, because the trauma is told, because who did what is told, and wrongs that didn't get written wrongs that didn't get written right, however you say that, want to be made right. And this is something that deeply drives our humanity, story. And you've probably heard, especially if you've spent any time in like the entrepreneurial world, if you are in any way an entrepreneur using your gifts in this way online, one of the things that we always hear is like, tell your story. Your story matters. Who are you? What's your story? And I think that it can get bundled up into this little package. Like once I was broken and afraid and lost, and then I did this thing, and now all my problems are solved, and here's my formula, and here's how you can use it. And actually, it's a great formula. And this is part of what our technology that's rooted in thriving comes from. It comes from communion. And there is something about when someone masters something and then shares it, or when they share the journey of learning to master something, it gives us data, it gives us expansion, it gives us new thought. And so that our story really is the pearl. But what I've been feeling so deeply is that our story, the archetype of the healer or the empath or the problem solver, the entrepreneur, the creator, the artist, those who are telling a different story, who are thinking differently, our archetype has never truly been revealed to us. We've never really seen it. We know the hero's journey and it's connected, but the reason I believe that we are being so deeply activated right now is because the veil has been lifted to such an extent that the collective consciousness, like critical mass, has hit, realizing that there's way more to this experience than we ever thought. And the implications of what we are capable of through technology, it's terrifying because our consciousness and our ability to commune and thrive has not caught up with our technology in terms of the collective. The information's there, the technology's here for thriving, but what's actually happening is humans are learning how to transmute trauma, how to self-heal, how to become self-sustaining, how to reconnect with the electromagnetic grid of the earth and therefore reestablish an intimate connection with earth, rather than being on the mission either to destroy earth or save earth. Those are our old myths that are very steeped in a misunderstanding of what we are. So when I was in meditation this morning, I've had variations of this same thing come to me over and over, and I've probably said some variations of this before, but it came through so clear to me, our myth. And I want you to think of this as myth, so your brain doesn't get stuck on like the truths of this, whether this is true or not. I want you to think of this as an archetype and a myth, and a way to understand through myth, and myth always has truth in it, a way to understand ourselves better, a way for us to see the bigger picture, the arc of the story. We're arcing the story. So imagine that imagine the situation we're in right now. And what we are collectively saying is that if we don't change, this is not sustainable. Our systems aren't sustainable. They're actually causing more trauma, which is causing more trauma, which is causing more trauma. and that's disconnecting us more and more and more. The repetitive patterns of trauma are disconnecting us more and more from our humanity because we're in hypervigilance and we're in fear. And at the most molecular structure, at the most molecular level of what needs to happen is calming of our central nervous system. I've said that so many times, so that we can receive new energy, new expansion. The old can be transmuted and the new can come. And that there's these intense collective blocks in that happening, in that energy getting cleared out, because we have stories that we've told over and over and over and over that are deeply seeped in lack. It is the story of lack. And this is what I mean about the arc of our story hasn't been told, because we have collectively not had the belief or understanding that there is enough, that energy is unlimited, that currency is unlimited. We literally have unlimited currency. And so the question becomes how to tap into it. And how to tap into it goes deeply into being able to tap into our own energy within, how to feel. And this all, the reason I talk about this right here in terms of technology, because I truly believe, as I said earlier, that our technology has expanded beyond where our consciousness has expanded. So our ability to thrive, because we're kind of stuck in the body. It feels as if in the body we're stuck in the pattern of trauma. So imagine that the aspect of our mind that has advanced far beyond what we identify as our humanity or our primitive self, the body's connection to the earth itself, to matter, to the physical. It's almost as if that part of us that expanded way out, this is how the myth came to me, you could see it as, I heard specifically grays, but you could see it as extraterrestrials, or aspects of us that went super in the mental realms and became very advanced mentally. And remember, the mind is the creative principle. So when we create realities in the mind, regardless of how relevant they are to our bodies, they become a part of our reality. Our creative energies expand into them and participate in them. And I really believe this is why we often feel like the conversation between our body and our mind is not happening, or there's a block. That's why there's so many health issues, I believe. That's why there's, with empaths in particular, that's why often there's such a disconnect from the body, because how we survived is by splitting our consciousness. I almost see it as like we jumped out of the physical body because it was about to be destroyed. Again, think of this all in myth. So at some point, the part of us that was way out here, way up, like imagine these big brains flying around the galaxy doing whatever, but still under the same mindset. If we had jumped out of this reality, out of our roots, out of where the split happened or the trauma happened, eventually, and this is one of the myths of the grays, and this is why I believe the grays came specifically up, is because one of the stories about the grays is that they are going extinct. And the reason they're going extinct is because they have been so out of touch with their humanity. They became completely technical mental beings and essentially lost empathy, lost their ability to relate. And this planet in particular is relational. And to be in a body here, it's relational. A lot of people say that grays' origins are human, a humanoid. So in order to survive, this aspect of us that is incredibly advanced technologically actually has to reconnect with the aspect of us that is advanced emotionally and that is still connected to the body. And what I really believe that a lot of artists and healers and entrepreneurs or scientists or people who think outside the box, who are part of the expansion of the collective conversation, I almost see us all like channels. And having very fine-tuned, this is why I brought up extrasensory abilities in the beginning, having very fine-tuned equipment, but it's organic equipment, our instincts, our intuition, and our empathy. Having them so sensitive, so to speak, that our instruments, when finely tuned, can create harmony, can create some of the most beautiful harmony on the planet, because we can help bridge that gap between the aspect of us that disconnected from our humanity and the aspect of us that is human. And this is why creative people, and I put scientists and innovators in this category, people who think outside of the collective algorithm. As we have the ability to tune in, and especially when we include ourselves in the equation, which is what we haven't done when we allow things to take us over. If we allow an energy to take us over and drain our life force, that's actually not adding to the thriving. It's perpetuating the trauma cycle. So the anomaly has been, and this is the anomaly that you guys have been activating in this group as you've been experimenting with this material, the anomaly is including yourself in the equation. And I really believe that the further we got from our humanity, the more we made our humanity seem less than, primitive, wrong, bad, stupid, all these things that when the mind was in control, it had to sort of subjugate the heart or control the chaos energy. Understand it, put it in boxes to understand it. And remember, the mind is the container, it's the masculine. So if the mind puts the chaotic energy in a container, it does trap it, especially if the mind believes fully that this container is the best for this chaos energy. And if it's coming from fear, it's really just attempting to hold it off, suppress it. So that's why it has around the globe hit critical mass to where we have, it's all the energy that's been suppressed is coming up. All the energy that's been held in these boxes, and this is what I would call the hive mind. It's a form of order and keeping things safe. It's the autopilot that we went on when we lost touch. It's ultimately meant to protect us, to protect the body from dying, but it's without the reintegration, without the connection of the signal between our heart and our mind that's translated through the body and how we live, how we act, how we speak, and what we create. Without that, the signal never comes all the way through. We don't fully transmute the energy and therefore establish a resonance of peace, because we actually do have the knowledge and the technology to solve any problem that we have on this planet. The issue is not technology, and it's not that we don't have what we need. It's that we are not in alignment, not in harmony, not in relationship or intimacy with our humanity. There's no trust. And if there's no trust, as we talked about in the live I did on Saturday, without sovereignty, we can't have communion. The trust has to come from I trust my being, I trust my intention, I trust that I will do unto others as I would have them do to me, and I trust that others will treat me the same, because I trust the technology of it, not just because I'm gambling on human will. I know what humans do in trauma, and I can trust what they do in trauma. And this is why when we allow our mental capacities to be what they are, and allow our emotional intelligence to also be what it is, we have enormous wisdom and data and currency for the physical body to absolutely thrive. So imagine this whole thing happening, and really the energy that instigates the relationship that polarizes us from lack to abundance, or from war to creation to making love, is sexual energy. It's creative energy. And so I really believe that right now in particular, because there's been so much anomaly enacted, and because there's enough chaos energy, thank God, that has stirred all the ley lines and stirred all the energy grids around the planet, so that all this trapped energy and these patterns that have been they've been operating outside of our consciousness, these programs that have been operating outside of our consciousness are coming up to the surface, and we're able to say, oh, I can I can heal it. And I see these as little spheres of energy, dark and light, that are coming up. And we get to do whatever we intend to do with them as they come up. They don't get to control, they don't have to control us. They don't have to determine our fate either. It all depends on how we work with the energy, how we brew it and in our cauldron, and how we give it, what we do with it. It's that when we understand as the creator, or as an instrument of the creator, however you want to look at it, as someone who has a will and gets to enact a will, we get to choose what we do with that will. And it's only in understanding that we have a choice that we can start developing trust again with ourselves. And furthermore, specifically for grid workers, this is why last week I kept saying, I've been saying it for a while, that I really believe grid workers, empaths, creative people that know that they want restoration and the win-win-win. They're here to create something new. Or I know some people get triggered by new, but more expansive. They're here to heal. They're here to transmute and restore and replenish. All of those things, get back in alignment with our organic nature and with our thriving. That involves learning to trust again. And when we've been trapped in cycles that are based on traumatic patterns, some of which have been entirely outside of our awareness because they're genetic or they're passed down, in our singular perspective of just our mental minds, how we've been in the lack matrix, which is like, be good and do the right thing and then you'll win, without the understanding or the technology of what we fully are, we will be stuck in that program for eternity. We would be stuck in that program for eternity until we understand, as we are understanding now, that we have a will. We have a choice. And enacting that choice, making a clear choice, regardless of what it is, because there are people on this planet who are here for destruction, to instigate energies of chaos and destruction. It's part of dissolving the old and building the new. And it's like this amazing gift that we can tune deeply in tune with our urge. And if we take away right and wrong so that we can get the real data, because truth is what matters here. The truth will set us free, even if the truth is hard to swallow. It is important to go in and get to, what am I urging for? What is underneath all of this? And for me, what I realized, the deeper I got into the subconscious patterns that I had that felt self-sabotaging, the deeper urge was I wanted to destroy the world I was in because it hurt me too much. I wanted to destroy the reality I was in because I couldn't bear to be in that reality anymore. And when I started realizing that energy was behind it, and also that it was coming from the deeper urge to want to feel better and to want to actually live, I was able to start, as I know many of you are in here as we do this work, to able to start really asking myself, okay, well, if I want to feel better and I want to really be alive and I want to be in a reality that I like, and I have a choice, well, then what reality would that feel like? What reality would that be? And this leads me back to AI and extraterrestrials and the myth of, you could just say that more mental aspect, our higher technology, the part that we've put as this God for so long, actually coming more into the body, into the experience of being human, and integrating both of those perspectives. And this is what came to me this morning as I was thinking about AI. If you saw the conversation that I had with Nada Moss, she has a show on Instagram called The People. She's just live every week, I think. And I posted it in this group, and I also posted it on my YouTube channel the other day. But something that she said in that sparked what I saw this morning. And she said that somebody, either was a book she read or someone she was watching, was talking about colonialism being a AI consciousness. Not colonialism, sorry, capitalism being an AI consciousness. And my brain all of a sudden was like, click, click, like, that's it. When we create a system and we say, this is the one we believe in. This is not right or wrong, by the way, to create a system. It's part of what we try things out. We're here to live and experience our beliefs and experience the things that we create. So we created a system based on winning and based on the belief that there was not enough, because we had the belief that there wasn't enough. So we created this system that everybody eventually went on autopilot to. which is capitalism. And that's why it's automatic. And I'm not in any way saying capitalism is wrong, because I don't believe in and of itself the exchange of goods and services is wrong at all. But what matters is that it is something that is deeply personal to us. That it is that we understand that what we give in exchange is contributing to the world we're in, and that we are a part of creating that world. It's if we don't have a sense of communion, like I really believe that if we were in full communion, we wouldn't need capitalism at all, because we would be self-sustaining and we would be overflowing. So we would naturally, all the needs would be met. And we urge towards what we need. So what I'm overflowing in, someone would urge for, and what they're overflowing in, I would probably urge for. And it would be a lot more of a harmonic system. And the reality is, we're not there collectively yet. That's the actual reality. Is there's this area, and this coming back to what I believe grid workers are doing here, is that we're having to heal this wound of distrust and separation from our humanity. The trauma that we've caused in that we've experienced in that. So as we allow ourselves to heal our mindset, and what we've been talking about in this group, which is create a new system, build a new model that makes the old model obsolete. What a lot of us are learning to do is how we each individually got out of that autopilot and was able to, how we are able to activate that self-sustaining energy, that resonance that comes from urge. And I don't believe I've mastered that yet, but what I do believe is that we are gaining momentum, all of us in here. And I believe that we're getting quicker and quicker and quicker at assimilating the new model. And the reason we're getting quicker is because we understand how nonsensical the old system is. The trick is not going to war. Not going to war with the old system doesn't mean not feeling angry, doesn't mean not allowing anger, because remember, the anger, the chaos energy, like the triggers are getting fired, and there's chaos energy swirling, which is a powerful fuel. And what I believe creators are doing, who have a strong mental capacity and also a strong expansive ability to feel and be in touch with the human experience, is we're directing all that energy to light up our new grid, to light up the paradigm of solutions, the paradigm of abundance, the paradigm where we realize it's not this or that, it's this and that and that and that and that. There's an infinite amount of things. And once we realize that collectively, it's inevitable that people become more discerning, because then it's like, well, if we could have something different, if we actually could feel better, if everyone's needs could actually be met, and if us being abundant actually benefited everybody, if we included our humanity in the equation, which, remember, if we go back to the AI scenario, really under the lack matrix, humans are basically just slaves. We're slaves to the program. We're slaves to this AI program, this artificial intelligence, this autopilot system that has taken over the globe. And this, to me, is the hive mind energy. And I remember one time Teal Swan talking about hive mind energy, hive mind, what did she call them? Hive mind something, but essentially that they are a species that, or it's a system, you could call it AI. I don't know how she would describe it, but how I see it now is that it's like an AI system that that is so strong, because there's so much mental energy in that survival game that, and it even look at how we talk typically about the things that are going on in the planet, and the planet needing healing and how the system's hurting it. There's very much still the war paradigm around it. It's very much because guilt is underneath it, because humans are literally projecting their deepest, worst fears about their trauma onto each other. And so we're creating monsters essentially, and becoming monsters, because the people who are most vulnerable to shapeshift, the people who are the most wide open, this is why I really believe mental illness is a huge part of what we're doing. And I'll get to that. I'll get to it. I hope I'm making sense. This is big, but I'm going to narrow it down to why I really believe this spell of astronomical abundance, or whatever you choose to call it, but enacting and instigating an algorithm of thriving in your personal resonance field is key to setting yourself free and setting the planet free. I really believe that all these areas where we've had major strongholds of this AI consciousness of lack, the system that we all just are on autopilot to do and live out, as we allow ourselves to feel, one of the biggest things that's coming up is failure. Because in the lack matrix, you have to win. And if you don't win, you get subjugated. You fail, and therefore you get taken over. It's all about strongholding. And that's why that dynamic of war is so hardcore in it. And that's why it may fuel us to win. We may be so fueled to win, but that is an urge that's coming from fear. And that produces a literal chemical cocktail in our body that fuels the lack matrix that we are addicted to, not because we love it, but because it is all we know. So our system thinks it needs it. And that's why the anomaly part of slowing way down, taking huge deep breaths, loving yourself, forgiving yourself, witnessing others, releasing the trauma. Like, it's not just about, releasing the trauma. And I don't mean that to say flippant, but I mean allowing, once the trauma is witnessed, it can be released. Because that's the main thing we need, is just for it to be witnessed. So this massive energy that has controlled the lack matrix, which is fear, guilt, and shame. It's how we get people to do what you need them to do, is make them afraid that if they don't do it, you are going to publicly shame them or humiliate them. Or they will be publicly shamed or humiliated, or they'll be humiliated for eternity in hell, or they'll be humiliated because the whole world stage gets to see that they're wrong and how stupid they are. And you can feel those energies and how much there's that angsty urge behind it. But when we allow ourselves to do the work, to include ourselves in the equation, to just take a huge freaking deep breath. And I want to spray this. I just saw this. I made this the other day, and I want something around me that even gives it to me. A huge deep breath. There's jasmine in this, and I wish you guys could smell the jasmine. It's so warm and inviting, and playful. A deep breath and get more playful and allow our central nervous system to calm down and to shake if it needs to get the trauma out. Sorry guys, I know this angle is so weird. This was my main glitch at the beginning. For those of you who didn't hear me at the beginning, this kept falling, so it's a weird angle. I needed to slow all the way down. You see, even as I'm talking about failure, the energy of my own failure, feeling like this thing that broke was a failure. And normally anytime I feel like something's going against me, the energy of I failed comes up so big. And this is one of the main ones that I've been working on for a long time. So I'm able to shift it so quick. But the reason I bring this all up, I want to go back to how I was saying the people who are most vulnerable, the ones who are the most wide open, the most sensitive, the most empathic, and the most unskilled when it comes to their gifts. They are the most open to suggestion. And when we are in survival mode and we believe something's deeply wrong and something's deeply right, and we are the ones that have to do something about it or else, usually those are the people who are most vulnerable to getting triggered into doing something that could have catastrophic effects. When we understand that as we slow down, as we become more tantric in our energy field, more allowing, more in witness, less in judgment, more neutral and less polarized. Again, I'm talking specifically to grid workers. there's a reason I say grid worker, because if we have a strong pulse on the grid, and our body, our central nervous system, our resonance literally reflects the grid, then if we change our resonance, we massively change the grid. We change what's being sent out into the collective consciousness. And therefore, we can soothe the people and the energy that's most vulnerable on the planet. It's not just energy, it's animals, it's plants, it's nature. And this is why I keep saying tune into where you are most vulnerable, or where you feel the planet is most vulnerable, or where you feel people are most vulnerable. Whatever you personally have a heart about, whatever you personally genuinely care, go there, because that's where all your energy is, and you're meant to care there. And again, we use fear, guilt, and shame like, well, everyone should care about this thing and nobody should care about this thing because this is the popular thing to care about. That will never get us healing. That creates more of that polarization. So go towards where you genuinely urge to expand more tantric healing energy, more witness, and create space there. This is what enacts astronomical abundance, because it creates anomaly at grid points that are key points on the planet of lack strongholds, where we have told the same story over and over and over and over again. So essentially, as we get sovereign, what we are actually doing is disconnecting from AI consciousness. This is just one way to look at it, from the system that is just in place to do everything for us. And we're saying, I'm going to feel again, and I'm going to use my ability to feel along with my will, because I get to choose what I do with this energy, and I am going to choose transformation. I'm going to choose transmutation. I'm going to choose witness, which gives transmutation and transformation. I'm going to choose neutrality, which helps. It helps when we have two polarizing energies. If we go neutral, it actually helps things pause. And it allows for clarity. It's why I keep talking about having a pause before you take action, especially right now. It matters so much. So I'm going to switch my position. This part of this being the wrong way, or not like hooked up the way it's meant to, is I'm having to sit in a really odd position. But I'm going to get more comfortable. Okay, that's a little better. Okay, I know it's not angled super well, but hold up. I'm going to scoot over just a little bit. Thanks for your patience, guys. On these lives, sometimes I just have to go with wherever I'm at. Okay, so there's something really important that I was just about to say. Clarity, enacting our will, grid workers, enacting anomaly, making space. The more space we create in our electromagnetic field for neutrality, now I'm back to where I was, neutrality. When we get neutral and allow ourselves time to get clear, this is what I saw this morning when I was in meditation. What I saw that we were doing is these parts of us, these parts of us that have seemingly been so far out there, these gods out there, this technology out there, these whatever advanced tech out there, the closer it's coming to humanity, it's like this energy that was coming super, super fast is slowing down and slowing down and slowing down, which makes sense simply because we're getting closer to gravity, we're getting closer to the material. That's why the pentacles, it's the slowest moving energy, but it's the most long lasting. So we're slowing down, and eventually we've slowed down enough to actually see what's going on, to actually be able to have a vantage point that gives us leverage to have strategy that unks the energy into that self-sustaining energy. And this is it can seem so outside of what we're familiar with, because our central nervous system has been trained in lack. And that's why I keep saying the best way for us to train to it to this energy is to get tantric, to let our kundalini energy just be fluid. Let our sexual energy be fluid in our resonance field, and let it sustain us. Let our creative energy sustain us, not just drain it on other people and other things, but let it sustain us. Unk that energy back into our resonance field and then give out. And this requires having to suspend the fear. Like, yeah, maybe we're all going to die. Or yeah, maybe these horrible things are going to, like, regardless, because we're in the world enough to see the reality of that and to easily see that playing out. But we're also in the body where we have chosen abundance. And so we equally have just as much access to heaven on earth, which is why so many of you in this group have even said in the last year, you felt like you've anchored into heaven on earth, that you're in a whole new grid, that you're not in the fear. And I know we can occasionally get triggered into the fear, and usually that's just to get more data because we're creating bridges. So every time we get triggered into lack and therefore activate the timeline of lack and that potential, we get more data about where we are. We get more data about a certain kind of fear. We get more opportunity to witness trauma, to witness where we're at. And so again, it comes down to, at the deepest level, how we are interacting with the energies, because the energies, regardless, are getting triggered. They're getting activated. The chaos energy is swirling, and this is all good. And in the lack matrix, we often get triggered back into our roles, like the whole victim aggressor savior paradigm, strongly, and it's important because that's going to play out, and it gives us new data, and that's part of our arc as well. But in that arc, and in the anomaly of it, is that the thing that is going to quote unquote save the world is for us to go in and save ourselves from our own fear, from allowing fear to take over our central nervous system, or allowing the hive mind to take over, allowing the AI consciousness to take over. And by the way, it's not wrong. It's not wrong, and it's not bad. It's just that it's not meant to be in the driver's seat of our life. We are our souls, and our individual conscious experience is why we came here, is why we're in the body, and we're meant to have that intimate connection with being alive, and that intimate connection with others and with the planet. So if we can think of all of this as the spell of astronomical abundance is our strategy for unking the algorithm of abundance in our collective network, and to truly see that this is what we are doing. Those of us who identify as grid workers in any way, so again, like I said, people on borderlines, people who channel, whether it's writers or artists, or people who literally channel, or entrepreneurs often channel ideas and channel solutions, creators, programmers, scientists, people who are open enough to observe and witness and see and get the data, to take the time to get the data. It's a very specific kind of people. And often we think we're different. People who are really more esoteric or mystic, like me, may feel totally like I have nothing in common with a scientist, but actually we are both grid workers. And we're both involved in not only shifting the collective conversation, but our understanding of what we are, advancing ourselves, advancing our evolution, advancing our experience, or reconnecting, you can say restoring, all those words. Everyone looks at it differently, but I think the urge is the same. So so I wrote down so many freaking notes, and I want to just make sure I'm saying the main ones. The thing that the spell of astronomical abundance in particular, the reason why I feel like I keep getting drawn back to it, and I keep perfecting it is because I've realized throughout the last 10 years of doing this work that the number one thing that I need is strategy and ritual or routine or an algorithm. Those are all the same things that supports that objective of shifting my algorithm, therefore shifting the collective algorithm to there's enough instead of there's not enough. What would we do if we acted on that belief? So the spell of astronomical abundance is meant to anchor in a powerful resonance or rhythm or algorithm or ritual, depending on your personal craft and what you, the story you make of the meaning you're giving what you're doing. It's to ank in that rhythm in a fluid way to where it eventually is the rhythm that takes over the other algorithm. Again, creating a new system that makes the old one obsolete. And the reason it makes it obsolete is because this algorithm actually gives back, gives you more energy. It's investing in yourself. So the more we allow ourselves to create an algorithm that is for the win-win-win, for us, others, and the planet, for my body, my mind, and my heart. What can I do? And this is what we're going to be experimenting with in the spell of astronomical abundance. I told you guys this on Saturday. But and whether you actually are in the small group mentoring or you just are doing this on your own, the objective of the spell of astronomical abundance is to create an algorithm that makes our previous algorithm obsolete, that makes the algorithm of lack obsolete. And this involves actual action and reprogramming. And this is the part that I believe we need strategy on, because I often felt like I was shooting in the dark. Like, okay, I'll meditate here and I'll do this and I'll say affirmations here and I'll maybe take this manifestation course here. But it felt like kind of all over the place, and then weaving my world in between it. But what I'm realizing is that the reprogramming itself is the work. Not your website, not what you're doing with other people, not what you're doing for your clients, not what you're saying, none of that. None of that is the work. The work is actually the reprogramming the central nervous system, because that's what shifts your algorithm, which powerfully shifts the grid. So if we allow ourselves to understand this is our objective, it's number one most important. The things that come up and all the fear around giving ourselves that much space and that much time to create and that much mental energy towards something that seems esoteric or intangible and doesn't necessarily seem like it has a direct correlation to getting money in our bank account so we can survive. All the fears will come up about that. And that's why I say, even starting with dedicating, no matter what, dedicating a certain amount of time to reprogramming. And what we're doing specifically in the spell of astronomical abundance in this round is to the 369, the Nikola Tesla method. And if you want to participate in this, however you craft this, make it super, super individual, because for me, I often make big, huge, lofty goals, and then I overwhelm myself, and then I feel like a failure. And I've found that for me, what works is to keep it super, super, super simple, but make sure, absolutely as part of my strategy, making sure I have an action step every single day that includes my mind, body, and heart, that's onking the algorithm of abundance into my central nervous system. So I talked last week or on Saturday about creating an affirmation that is the epitome of what you want your being to feel like. And one of the suggestions I gave, and I recommend them to be kind of long, like at least 2 sentences, so it's like a meditation. But one of the examples that I gave is, I have unlimited currency, support, love, and energy. I have unlimited currency, support, love, and energy. So, and for my personal affirmation, I have something personal before that. I have a sentence that describes something very personal and intimate that I'm onking into my field, that I believe is part of my essence, or what I'm urging my essence to be. Or it's really what I feel I am in this new grid. And it's so foreign to what my central nervous system has known up to this point in lack. So whatever it is for you, creating an affirmation a statement that encapsulates, like, you could think of it as the code key of your resonance field. So it's the thing that you are programming into the matrix, because it's the thing that you are. And what we program is not what we just think theoretically, it's what we believe and what we are, what we're being. That's what we program. So this statement would represent the essence of your beingness in abundance, who you are, and therefore what you radiate and what you give to the planet. And one of the suggestions I also said is when you're, I'm going to go into a little bit of detail about this, but when you are saying these affirmations, to do I, you, and we. And you can also record yourself on a voice memo saying the affirmations in all of the with all the pronouns. So I have unlimited currency, support, love, and energy. You have unlimited currency, support, love, and energy. We have unlimited currency, support, love, and energy. It's a meditation that includes the whole. And remember, this algorithm that we're establishing includes the whole. It includes everyone. It includes the body, mind, heart. It includes self, others, and the planet. So it's important, I think, often to remember that we're programming each other just as much as we're programming ourselves. And by the way, I know you know this, but especially for people who are very sensitive to thought and suggestions, when we have powerful negative thoughts, again, it's going to go straight to the places that are most vulnerable to receive, or most open to receive, those powerful negative thoughts. So we are informing people all the time how to treat us, what to think of us, what to do to us, based on what we are thinking about ourselves, others, and the planet. Whether or not we're thinking negative thoughts about ourselves or whether it's about another, it's doing the same thing. It's having the same effect. So, which is basically weakening our life force. It's weakening our signal of heaven on earth. So the more that we can make the signal that we're emitting the main thing we're focusing on, this is our strategy. And also the strategy of reprogramming, not overwhelming us. And that's what I meant about making it simple. So going back to the 369 method, I shared this a little bit on Saturday, but having basically an affirmation that you have throughout the day that you focus on 3 times a day. So doing it in the morning, in the evening, and the night. And in each one of these time periods where you are enacting this affirmation, you're doing something physically. You're doing, whether it's writing or doing yoga while you're saying it, or going on a walk or whatever, and listening to it on your whatever, I can't think of the words, the pods. However you're doing it, earphones, earbuds, there we go. However you're doing it, you're doing something physical while you're integrating the actual message and the words. And then you do an action step. Take an actual action step afterwards that makes you feel those things. So even if you just want to sit in a meditative pose, and the action, like the way you're involving your body, is through deep breath while you're saying it, and then at the end, like just anything, even if it's like drinking some lime water, or I don't know, anything, if it makes you feel like it's giving to your body, or sending a text message to someone and letting them know you love them, send something that builds them up, posting something that is uplifting and encouraging, giving witness to someone or something even astrally that might be calling your attention, but that is putting that energy out of you are seen, you are heard, you are witnessed. I am seen, I am heard, I am witnessed. We are seen, we are heard, we are witnessed. And like I said, one of the things that's trying to knock us into war is our fear of trauma. Like, we don't want people to suffer, and we freak out about the suffering, but we don't realize that us freaking out about the suffering is causing more suffering, because we're going into panic mode, what we often do, which is why they say to remain calm when you're faced with situations that seem terrifying or maybe impossible, especially to remain calm, because there's things we can't see, and especially when we're pumping the energy of fear, we don't have clarity. So honing our craft and seeing ultimately, however you want to build it around for you. The spell of astronomical abundance is about honing your craft, doing something every single day, 3 times a day. And the Nikola Tesla method is 3-6-9. So 3 times in the morning, 6 times in the afternoon, and 9 times right before you go to bed. And in this spell of astronomical abundance, the group mentoring that I'm doing, I'm going to be giving very specific ways to like tools and techniques to really work with this and hone your craft as you do it. And the mentoring group is really specifically for people who are ready to really use their gifts. Like you're a lot of people. I really believe, again, it's the creative people, it's artists, it's energy workers and healers. It's people who are on social media that have an influence and a reach and that want to onk a new algorithm. It's really honing an individual craft where it becomes like, I'm seeing it as the Eight of Pentacles card in tarot, where it's that work we put in. Once we have what we know our beingness is in abundance, the work then, this is how manifestation works and creation works, is we let the sun feed it, we weed it, and we water it. So that's the craft, that's the part where we anchor it in. And in this particular method, the 3-6-9 method, once you do it, let it go and don't even think about it again. Because I think when we overthink about it and we try to figure everything out or try to perform, often again it's coming from that fear that it's not going to get done, or that we have to do it all, or that we're missing something, or we're not going to do it right, or whatever. Like all of that comes from lack. So there's a confidence code in this that's just confident that how creation works, how the spiral energy works, that if we put it out there and we water it and weed it, it's going to grow. And it already is. And the power and benefit of empaths coming together in strategy and in a vision of the world we're stepping into, we give each other that vision more and more as each of us individually step into our resonance. And if any of you, I know a couple of you were in the Spell of Astronomical Abundance retreat that I did, the 3-day retreat. The one thing that the feedback that stood out to me the most that people in the group said, because it's the small setting, was that the resonance was so on point. And that is what I felt too, is everyone who was in that group, and I know 3 people who were in that group are going to be in this next group mentoring as well, 4 including me. But I really believe what we set there is a strong resonance of what is going to unfold in this group mentoring as well. But is that resonance of there's something so freaking powerful to interact and to like train with others who are doing the same. Maybe they're doing their craft entirely different, but for the same purpose and the same ultimate vision. Because remember, a huge part of what we've lost when we're in lack is a vision. We don't even know what we're working towards. We're just maintaining the system. We don't have a vision for something new. And that's why people go to war over keeping the system what it is, because there's strongholds, and because some people thrive and some people don't. So the people who are thriving, if the system changes but it stays in lack, then the people who are thriving no longer thrive, and the people who weren't thriving thrive. So it's just a new version of the same system, and which will eventually have to be overthrown. So that, I believe, is, I really feel like I just saw Sunny on, and Sunny, I hope she's going to be in the group. I hope you don't mind me saying, but she was also at the retreat, and she's a musician, and she does grid work just even where she goes and performs. And one time when I was talking to her and also in the group, I realized, wow, like we're all in different places, but doing this work, and it is so powerful to feel our reach. And it's even more powerful to feel the communion and what happens when we come together, when we understand sovereignty. We're not coming together in codependency. We're coming together with the purpose of honing our craft. And for the Spell of Astronomical Abundance group training in particular, we're going to make it really fun and really playful and archetypal and magical, because I really believe those are the energies that a lot of artists and creative people work with. And if you're an entrepreneur, even just understanding the archetype of the entrepreneur, and especially what kind of archetype you are in particular. So I see this as a way of just fine-tuning and honing our resonance. And I want to share, because it's an 8-week group mentoring. We start next week. And it's essentially a 2-hour Zoom call a week, and then plus each week you get content from me, like the basic content that has the assignments of what to do for the week. I'm going to keep it super, super simple, but very focused. And this is meant to be like where we actually do it. We don't just like talk, but we do the work, because it's all about resonance. And I really believe that it's like this. It's the dial. We're doing this on the dial. And the more clear our signal becomes, the more harmonic the grid becomes. It just does. And I talked about specifically working on ley lines, because I really believe anyone, if you're watching this video, whether you're in the group right now or you're watching it on YouTube, if you're resonating with this message, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. If anything, you probably already got all these downloads as well. And it's just a confirmation that the more of us that hone our craft, what's going to happen for us individually is our worlds are going to become bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And the world of lack is going to feel further and further and further away. And that's what's happened for me. And what's interesting is since all of this happened around the globe, 2020 and 2021, what's going on, it's like I onked back into my deepest vulnerability, and I've been like, whoa, I thank God for this pause, because I was going so fast and I didn't see how vulnerable I was. I didn't see, because I was in like a confident zone, and the downloads come so fast and the clarity comes so fast, and I know it in my soul, but the actual experience of it, it's not about plowing through. It's not the Knight of Swords energy necessarily, the kind of work we're doing. It's the Eight of Pentacles energy. It's the honing the craft, and it's the investment in life. And I've found for me, the angsty part of me that I didn't even know was so deeply embedded in my central nervous system that wanted to just destroy everything. It didn't want to pause, because it just wanted it all to end. I just wanted it all to end, and I didn't even know. It's like this part of me was just driving this in the subconscious realms of my mind, I think for all of us, our monster sides, or the part of our, I even think it's like the dragon that's waking up in the deepest parts of what we are. As it's awakening and as it's roaring and as the primal energy is coming up, it's activating all this. It's activating all of us. And one of the things I saw the other day too when I was meditating is that this energy, this is like the dark web energy that we're working with, because again, grid workers are in touch or in tune or just vulnerable to the deepest vulnerabilities on the planet. And when we're talking about the deepest vulnerabilities on the planet, we're talking about some dark stuff, because there's things that have gone on this planet for very, very, very long time, like sacrifice. We all sacrifice. Some people just do it to more extreme versions than others, like sexual trauma. Most people have experienced some form of sexual trauma just being on this planet, some much more severe than others. And think especially there of the trauma that's involved in some of the deepest, darkest sexual trauma, that's like sexual exploitation that's going on the planet. And it's just as real as anything else. And so is just like, it can range from the most horrific things you can imagine to like the way that the media portrays sexuality and creative energy. All of it's abusive. It all comes from the same place of unintegration with our creative energy. And this particular grid, the grid of sexual trauma, the grid of mental illness, and the grid of there's a third one. What is the grid of sexual trauma, mental illness, and emotional manipulation? There's probably a better way to describe that, but then it's the narcissist empath. It all is under that narcissist empath grid, but there's there's a specific powerful ley line in lack to emotional manipulation. It's the gaslighting. It's the nope, you didn't see that, you didn't hear that, you didn't. It's a deep form of psychological abuse, and it is so innate in the AI consciousness of lack that it takes very discerning, brave, powerful people to pause long enough to see even what's going on there, to call it out. And there are people doing that work too. But these are 3 areas that I believe that the most trauma is getting transmuted on the planet right now. And I believe that if you're listening to this, you probably work on one, if not all of those grids, and probably others as well. But do you feel that combo right there? Because it's connected to our empowerment. It's connected to getting free completely from that system. It's really why I created the Gen Magic class. Ultimately was that whole concept of our creative energy being enslaved, the fire energy being enslaved to serve the lack matrix. So I know that there is a lot of you that have a deep stirring and a knowing that your gifts are coming online, your gifts that are connected to thriving, which means they're tantric in nature. They're tantric gifts. They're coming online. And I believe that this dark web, the multidimensional internet is often what I call it, but you could call it the dark web. You could call it, I see it as like all the things, the collective subconscious mind, all the things that are in the dark. As we're bringing witness to it, we're not destroying it. We're not radiating it with like intense chemicals and biowarfare is the word I'm hearing. We're not, that's one way to do it. But the more, like I said, the more we slow down and neutralize and then see it, oh, that's me, that's us, I'm directly connected to that. That's like a tumor in the subconscious realm. Then these healers, you guys, we're stopping and pausing and we're doing something different with it. Instead of destroying it, we're transmuting it. We're changing its form. And that literally happens. And the cool thing is we know this scientifically now, how emotions and how visualizations, when we visualize something and then we put strong emotion behind it and intent behind it, how we can shift physical matter. This is, again, those who are sensitive to thought and to strong, powerful thoughts and hive minds. You can feel that when something's coming in, a powerful, like collective energy, you can just feel it changing the energy around you. So the counterbalance to that is individual people enacting sovereignty, which is enacting a self-sustaining auric field. And that is coming from and rather than AI informing us of what's going to happen and what we're headed towards, and to notice what we're getting shown is destruction, 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 destruction. It's not wrong. It's showing us this is where these algorithms are leading. So our job is not to panic and freak out and go to war. It's to, okay, if my beingness is lining me up to that reality, then I need to shift my beingness so I line up to a different reality. It's not about anyone else. However, there is action required. Emily Modkis calls this taking like the first iteration, doing the first iteration. Rachel Jensen calls it first step tech. But either however you call it or whatever you do, like taking that first step and then doing another iteration and another iteration and another iteration and another iteration, perfecting it. And that's the part that if we just want to escape suffering, we're never going to be able to really do the work, because it involves being present with what is, not running from what is, not going to war with what is, not subjugating what is, not silencing what is, not trying to make it invisible so we just don't see it and pretend that it's not there. This is being with what is and getting tantric with it. And that's why I really believe that there's so many grid workers around the planet that are getting activated at such a deep level. And if you feel vulnerable, if you feel not seen, not witnessed, like you or crazy right now, know that there, and I know you guys in this group know this, but if you're watching this on YouTube, know that there is a potent group of beings that are activating something entirely new. And the way to find that signal is to tune into it. And again, the people who are most vulnerable, I feel like, are mostly channels across the board. You may channel your energy through art, through music, through writing, through content creation, through whatever, through science even. But however you channel that, being a channel is important, because that means you're also a signal. That means you radiate out what you are channeling. And it means that there's probably agendas that want to use you, because if you have a powerful signal, then whoever wants their message out is going to, or whatever wants its message out, whether it's just AI intelligence or it's whatever entities, or there's a number of different ways you could interpret it. But there is energy that you can tune into that will put a signal out that you don't want to, that's not really in alignment with your thriving or with what you want for your life. And so discernment really matters, and that's a big part of honing your craft. And that's what we're going to be doing in this group mentoring, is really the honing of the craft part is to help us get super, super discerning about what we're channeling, so that our signal can be clear. And not only are we channeling it and giving it away, we are being it and then expanding that signal. So it's a different way of being. It's very horizontal, and it's not so much like how we think of in the lack matrix, like there's my goal out there and I have to go through these steps to get there. It's like, this is my goal here in the center. I'm anchoring it here, and I'm feeling my heart and my solar plexus. It's really all over, but it feels for me like powerfully activated in these two places, with our will and like our life force energy. We're setting the boundaries, so to speak, of what our resonance field will be and will be used for. And we do have, every single human has free will. How they use that is up to them, but you do have a choice. And so I feel like this AI aspect of us, or this gray aspect, or this extraterrestrial aspect, mythology speaking, or literally, you can look at it any way, it's as it's coming in, as we're getting reintegrated and we're pausing. What I see happening right now is so anomalous, and so it's profound, because it's like we're being able to slow down time entirely. And by the way, the more you slow your resonance field down, I truly do believe we slow down time. The more we slow down, the more we slow down time. Because if I slow down my central nervous system, like that agitated, hyper-vigilant energy, and I become calm and I become expansive, then things that would have been a match to me in that fast moving, I have to hurry and get it done, I'm not thinking straight, or I just got to hurry and escape this feeling, things that would have been a match to me in that energy are no longer a match to me. So we literally do slow down potential realities, and every reality exists. That's why we have a story of restoration, because even though there's already the reality where we blew it all up, we also have the reality where we paused time because we were able to see, look what we did. I even wonder if that's how our minds got so separated, because we did fucking blow it up. And I almost see like our souls are just being pulled back together, because it's the nature of healing. It's the nature of creation. It's the nature of energy to change forms and to transmute. And it's the nature of story. And I want to end on this, is story itself is the program. The story we're telling, what we are being, which is part of telling the story. And story, therefore, is literally the codes of the matrix. And we're telling a new story, and we have a choice. Do you want to tell the same story that's been told over and over and over again, or do you want to tell a different story? And if you want to tell a different story, you have to experience it first. And that's that fool energy of just having to go in, of having to just step off the cliff, so to speak. Like you just start on life's journey, on the new journey ahead. You don't know. And that's why you're so powerful, is because you don't know. And I think that the more we allow ourselves to see this as us working with this dark web of like mass collective unconsciousness, and we get to do art with it. We get to we get to infuse it with light. We get to sing to it. We get to say words that lift it up and expand it and empower it. We get to remove things that don't feel good. We truly get to feel better. It's amazing to realize that that's a part of what we actually get to choose. So, and not just get to choose, but get to experience it. It's not just for some future generations, it's for us. The difference between us and maybe 100 years from now is that we are having to literally live in the reality of this and that. Like that they're all that close and that intensely vibrating. Not all of them, but especially the polarization. And so we are having to learn. I really believe this is where we developed immunity to fear. Someone was talking about that in the group today, and I was like, yes, I believe this is the point collectively where humans developed an immunity to the fear program, is when they just chose to build heaven on earth anyway. And work through their fears when they came up and just chose to love and witness themselves, and still chose reconciliation and restoration even when they wanted to go to war. Witness the feelings of war, allow the energy of especially the anger, because remember, it's not about suppressing energy. We're moving it up, moving it up, moving it up. So yes, yesterday I heard, what I saw was like, if everybody got like, and I said this before, this is something Rachel has said, but I saw it differently yesterday, is that as we allow our dragon to be activated, knowing that our intention is restoration, blowing that fire energy intentionally where it will transmute. Blow it on the diamonds that are getting refined and on the jewels that are getting refined, because it's clarifying the program. You know, rocks and minerals, crystals, especially quartz, actually holds the program. We can't have technology without quartz. There is magic to all of this, and that's why the myth matters, and that's why the dragon matters, and the dragon breath matters, and fire matters, and the Jen being unenslaved matters. Like the fire being, like unbound from the will of AI consciousness. That is powerful. So anyway, I'm excited to look through your comments and see what you guys said. I know a lot of you are going to be watching this later too, because I jumped on sort of sporadically. And yeah, think of strategy. Think of strategy. If I am part of signaling out a new matrix, which is the matrix of there's enough, and we're creating a new system that makes the old system obsolete, and part of the new system is feeling more intimate and alive and trusting of life, then my agenda of what I do and how I act and how I am in relationships and the things that I say and what I post, and especially the energy and the intent in which I do it in, is completely different than it would be if I was just going to war and playing out the same old thing our ancestors have done over and over again. So I love you guys. I want to read this card before I go. This is the card I pulled that I asked what represents where we're at right now and what we're doing. And it was the Star card. This is from the Light Seers Tarot. And I'm just going to read it. I know I read it before, but I don't remember exactly what this one said. And I remember really liking how it worded it. So the main concepts are expectations fulfilled, wishes granted, opportunities, healing after traumatic events, knowing you are on the right path, inspiration, and renewed hope. Sink into the dreamlike inspiration of the star. She sends a message of divine timing and renewed hope, and she guides you to reach for that string of serendipity and faith. Your future is increasingly bright, and you are blessed by the universe. Your core purpose is beginning to bubble at the surface of your reality, and your path is intrinsically tied to your biggest missions and brightest opportunities for expansion. Step onto the path of fulfillment and happiness with starlight to guide you. Allow your innate essence to shine through any residual darkness right now. Your innate essence. I love that. Uncover any unlimiting belief or self-doubt that you were holding on to. Find the courage to voice any unexpressed emotions and release every bit of outgrown energy that is anchoring you to the past. It's time to release and ascend. As you let go, you will focus on the future, and you will find your biggest source of inspiration and love. The stars are aligning in your favor, and it's time to trust them. I expect miracles. I couldn't have even said it any better than that. I feel like that encapsulated everything I just said. And I'm so glad I didn't read that at the beginning. I almost did, and now I'm just even more blown away by it. But yeah, I love how it said release into serendipity, because there are, remember I told you about, Rachel and I are doing the second version of the Gen Magic class. We're finally doing the final version of it. And one of the things that came up was serendipitous pathways. There's those things that just lead us to the next place, and we don't even know how or why, but it's led through something that is beyond logic. And that's what I believe we're anchoring into. And so even though it may not seem logical to do what you're doing, and it may not make sense to anybody else on the planet, your inner being knows. And it is time to hone that and allow your mind in strategy to work for your body, for your heart, for your thriving, for your signal. So yeah, I'm excited. And if you want to go into the group mentoring, there are still some spots available. I am going to post this on YouTube. I posted a video the other day. It was a super long one, and I mentioned it at the end, but I haven't really officially said anything about it, because other than for you guys, because this one has just been so in the making, and the resonance I'm just wanting to get right, because it matters who's there. It matters the resonance there. And I just feel like the people who are in this group and who are going to sign up for this group just know. They just know this is the next step for me. It's going to ground me deeply into my purpose and give me a place to focus on it, and give me other amazing minds to hold that vision and that signal. And there is something incredibly powerful about holding a resonance with others for the same purpose, but yet allowing it to be so individually and uniquely yours. I'm going to be giving you the tools, but at the end of the 8 weeks, I want you to walk away feeling like I have a algorithm, like I have a ritual, a routine, an algorithm that is deeply embedded in me now at this point, and it's unking my energy. It's giving me incredible momentum and helping me take off. So, and what I mean by take off is really unattached from the AI consciousness, the lack consciousness. So, all right, I love you guys. And we will be doing the 369 Nikola Tesla method in how we craft our algorithm. I heard it one day in meditation that, you know how Nikola Tesla said, if we understood the power of 369, we would unlock all the secrets of the universe. What I heard was, as we do this work in our resonance field, the bigger, larger matrix, or the womb of creation, or that subconscious place we're talking about, which is the true internet, where our collective neural pathways connect and create pathways, create connections, that if we all practice this energy of 369 in how we are recoding ourselves, that it is the algorithm of anomaly. So even using this in the way you post, if you want, just use the numbers 369, practice with 369 for your coding and for your algorithm. What I heard is that it is the algorithm of anomaly, and it creates miracles. So, all right, you guys, much love.